Asterisk my father and brother showed up uninvited and told me to hand over my house, the one I worked for alone, because I was just one guy and my brother needed it more. When I refused, they tried to steal it. I thought that was rock bottom. I was wrong. That was just the opening shot. Asterisk asterisk you don't expect your own father to show up with a locksmith and demand your house like it's a pair of shoes you borrowed and forgot to return. But somehow, here we are. My name's Carter. I'm 30 years old. And last year I bought my first house. Not inherited, not gifted, but after 10 years of working double shifts, sacrificing vacations, dating, sleep, sanity. It was modest, but it was mine. I painted every wall, sanded every floor, even built the front porch with my own hands. I remember standing on it at sunset thinking, this is peace. That lasted 6 months. My brother Blake is 3 years older than me and has never held a job. Longer than 6 months. Our parents pampered him to ruin private school, free car, a whole house gifted to him in his mid-20s. Know what he did with that? Sold it, spent it, burned it on crypto, jet skis, and business ventures that barely lasted an Instagram post. Then moved back into our parents' basement like a returning king, still demanding respect, still blaming bad luck. I stayed out of it. I worked. I built. Until the knock on my door changed everything. It was a Sunday evening. I had just made dinner and was settling into the quiet. I opened the door, expecting a package. It was Dad. And Blake. Dad had that tight smile he wears when he's about to say something insane and expects you to agree. Blake had the expression of a man arriving at his rightful estate. I felt the air shift. We sat in the living room. Blake helped himself to my soda. Dad looked around like he was inspecting a used car. Then came the bombshell. Dad, son, we've been talking, and we think it's time you gave Blake the house. I laughed loudly. I thought it was a joke. Until I saw Blake's face. Me, you're kidding, right? Dad, he needs a fresh start. You're a single guy. No wife, no kids. This place is too much for just you. Blake, it just makes sense, man. I blinked. Me, you mean the house I bought, that I pay for, that I live in? Dad, we're a family. Sometimes family sacrifices for each other. Neat, like how you gave Blake a house and he torched it. Within a year, Blake's face flushed. Dad's tone hardened. Dad, don't bring that up. That was a rough time for him. Me, and what about me? I worked 60-hour weeks for years while you bailed him out again and again. Then came the threat. Dad, you don't help your brother. Don't expect a cent from me when I'm gone. There it was. The ultimate family weapon, inheritance blackmail. I got up without a word and walked to my office. Grabbed the folder. Dropped it on the table. Me, go ahead. Cut me out. But you gave Blake his inheritance already. That house was worth more than anything you'll leave behind. Blake's smug expression crumbled. Me, so if you think you're scaring me, try again. There was a long silence. Then Blake exploded. Blake, this is garbage. You're being greedy. You think you're better than us just because you bought a stupid house. Me, no. I think I'm better than someone who tries to steal from his own brother. Dad stood up, finger pointed at me, furious. Dad, you're selfish. You'd rather see your own brother on the street. I snorted. Me, Blake's not homeless. He's been living rent-free in your guest room for 3 years. They were losing control of the narrative, and they knew it. So I ended it. Me, get out of my house. Dad's face twisted. Dad, you'll regret this. Me, we'll see. I opened the door. They left. Blake muttering under his breath. Dad glowering. I locked it behind them and leaned against it, heart pounding. Maybe now they'd stop. But they did in single quotes because for days later, I got a notification on my phone. Motion detected, front door. And when I pulled up the camera feed, they were back, with a locksmith. The thing about having security cameras, you always know when idiots are planning something stupid. For days after I kicked my dad and brother out, I was making coffee and scrolling emails when my phone buzzed. Motion detected, front door. I opened the live feed, and there they were. Dad, Blake, and some poor guy with a tool belt and a confused expression. Locksmith. They were trying to break in. I nearly dropped my mug. Not even a week had passed since their give your brother the house intervention, and now they'd moved straight to criminal trespass. Bold move. I hit the intercom button on the camera. Me, hey, what the hell do you think you're doing? The locksmith jolted like he'd seen a ghost. My dad. He looked right into the camera, completely unbothered. Dad, just sorting out some family business. Son, oh son, is it? Blake, you're being dramatic. We're just checking on the place. Mate with a locksmith. The locksmith turned to them, clearly alarmed. Locksmith, wait, this isn't your house. I could practically hear the panic in his voice. Dad, it's a family property. We just need new keys. Family property. Unbelievable. I was already halfway to my car. By the time I pulled into the driveway, they were still there. The locksmith looked like he was mentally calculating how quickly he could vanish. I parked, slammed the car door, and stormed up to the porch. Me, step away from the door. The locksmith backed off instantly. Blake was leaning against the railing like he was the damn homeowner. Blake, why are you so paranoid? We just wanted to commit felony breaking and entering. I pulled out my phone and opened the title deed. Me, this is my name on the title. Not yours, not Dad's. Mine. I held it in front of the locksmith's face. His eyes widened. Locksmith, sir, I swear. They told me. I know what they told you. Give me your card. Now. He fumbled in his pocket and handed me a wrinkled business card before all but running to his van. My dad watched him go, arms crossed like a disappointed principal. Dad, we're overreacting. We were just trying to help you see reason. By stealing my house, yeah, real helpful. Blake, you're single. You don't need a whole house. And you're a grown man who lives off his parents. What's your point? That one landed. Blake's face twisted into a skull. Dad, you've always been selfish. You never think about what the family needs. Oh, I'm sorry, did I forget to mortgage my soul so Blake could live in comfort? I snapped. Me, you mean like when I paid my way through college while you bought Blake a car? Or when I worked construction while Blake found himself in Bali? Dad, watch your tone. No, watch your actions. And next time you bring a locksmith, maybe try bringing legal ownership. Blake stepped forward, voice low. Blake, if you think this is over, you're wrong. I raised my eyebrows. Me, were you threatening me? Blake, just saying. Things change. It sounded like a threat from a guy who'd watched too many mafia movies. I wasn't intimidated, but I was done talking. Me, you're trespassing. Leave before I call the cops. Dad, you wouldn't. I took out my phone and started dialing. Me, try me. They left. But not quietly. Blake kicked over my lawn flamingo on the way out like a brat throwing a tantrum. Dad muttered something about me being a disgrace, and I stood there, holding a phone in one hand and a property deed in the other, realizing one awful truth: they weren't going to stop. That night, I changed all the locks again, this time with a company I actually trusted, and installed an extra camera at the back door. I was on edge, every sound making me flinch. Was I being paranoid? I didn't think so. Because the next morning, I got an email. Subject line: notice of petition for property review. Attached was a formal complaint filed by my father. He was taking me to court to try and claim my house. My blood ran cold. I called my lawyer. Me, Mark, I need help. Mark, tell me everything. I laid it out. The break-in attempt, the fake locksmith stunt, and now this lawsuit. Mark was silent for a moment. Then he said, Mark, they messed with the wrong homeowner. That night, I sat on the porch with a glass of bourbon, watching the security feed loop in silence. I wasn't scared anymore. I was furious. They wanted a war, fine. I was ready. Asterisk. You don't think your dad will actually follow through with suing you until the subpoena shows up at your door. It was a Wednesday morning. I was halfway through breakfast when someone knocked. It wasn't a neighbor. It wasn't a delivery. It was a process server holding a manila envelope and a tired expression. Server, are you Carter Winslow? Nay, yeah, server, you've been served. He handed me the envelope like he was delivering a pizza, then turned around and left without another word. Inside was a copy of the lawsuit. My father was suing me for ownership of my house. His claim that I had purchased the property using family resources and that it was always intended to be shared. It was surreal. This man hadn't paid a cent toward my down payment, hadn't signed a loan, hadn't lifted a finger, but suddenly he was trying to rewrite history with legal ink. I called my lawyer so fast I nearly dropped my phone. By that afternoon, I was in Mark's office. The lawsuit spread across his desk like a crime scene. Mark, okay, deep breath, it's absurd, but not impossible. That's why we're going to bury it. What do we do, Mark? We hit back harder. They've turned this into a legal game, so let's play. The first court date was set 3 weeks out, but the prep started immediately. Mark and his team gathered every shred of paper trail we had: bank records, mortgage documents, title filings, utility bills, even photos of me installing the drywall during the remodel. Meanwhile, my dad was out there spinning stories like a suburban Shakespeare. He'd apparently told my aunt I'd manipulated him into signing over family land. What family land? This house was in a planned development on a cul-de-sac that I bought through a realtor named Brenda, not some ancestral countryside plot. But my father wasn't interested in facts. He was interested in controlling the narrative. The day of court, I arrived in a navy suit, 3 inches of paperwork under my arm, and a gut full of adrenaline. My dad Walston wearing a golf shirt and a smug grin, like he was about to win a parent-teacher conference. Blake came to. He wore sunglasses, indoors. Like he was some kind of celebrity defendant on trial for insider trading. The judge walked in. Everyone stood. And then it began. The argument, fantasy versus reality. Dad's lawyer stood up first, clearly coached by my father's delusions. Lawyer, Your Honor. Our client asserts that the defendant's home was acquired using funds that originated from the family estate. There was an unspoken agreement that the house would be shared by both sons. I almost laughed out. Mark, Your Honor, the defendant has sole ownership of the property. The down payment, mortgage, title, and taxes are all solely under Carter's name. There is no record, verbal or written, of any shared intention. Then Dad took the stand. He started with the classic guilt trip monologue. Dad, I raised Carter. I fed him, clothed him, paid for his education. And this is how he repays me. By denying his brother shelter and treating us like strangers. Mark, did you contribute any money toward the down payment? Dad, no. But that's not the point. Mark, did you sign the mortgage? Dad, no. But Mark, were you involved in the purchase process at any stage? Dad, not directly, but we had a family understanding. Mark, Your Honor, there is no legal precedent for family understanding taking precedence over a deeded sale. The judge looked unimpressed. But then Blake stood up. Uninvited. Blake, Your Honor, my dad and I should live there. That house was always meant for us. The judge blinked. Judge, are you testifying? Blake, I don't know. Should I, Judge? Sit down. He did in single quotes. Instead, he launched into a monologue that sounded like it was written by a soap opera intern. Blake, Carter has always hated me. He wants to see me suffer. He doesn't care that I have nowhere to go. He just wants to parade around like he's better than us. I turned to Mark. Me whispering, is this actually helping us? Mark grinning immensely. The judge finally cut him off. Judge, Mr. Winslow, unless you have material evidence, I suggest you stop. The bombshell then came our turn. Mark handed over a stack of documents showing every payment I made, from the inspection fee to the homeowner's insurance. Then came the surprise, the voice recording. Mark, Your Honor, with the court's permission, we'd like to play a brief excerpt from a conversation between Carter and his father regarding the house. It was from my front porch camera, just 4 days before the locksmith incident. We hit play. Dad, on tape, if you don't give Blake the house, I'm cutting you out of my will. Blake, on tape, you're being selfish. I need this house. Nee. On tape, you're not getting it. This is mine. I earned it. The courtroom went silent. The judge looked up. Judge, so there was no shared agreement, but rather an attempted coercion. Bingo. My dad's lawyer sunk lower in his seat. Court adjourns. Judge recessed to review the materials, but the room had already shifted. My father looked furious. Blake looked like a kid caught cheating on a pop quiz, and I was just getting started, because if they wanted war, they were about to see just how far I was willing to go to protect what's mine. Asterisk. If you've never seen someone completely unravel in a courtroom, let me tell you, it's both horrifying and kind of satisfying. We were halfway through the second hearing, and things weren't going great for my dad and Blake. Actually, they were going terribly. The judge had already reviewed the property deed, the mortgage records, and most damning of all, the porch camera recording where my father basically confessed to trying to manipulate me. It was unraveling fast. But Blake, he wasn't going down quietly. The courtroom meltdown, it started when the judge turned to him and said, in the most bored voice imaginable, Judge, Mr. Blake Winslow, do you have any documents, emails, financial statements, or other legal evidence proving you contributed to the purchase of the home? Blake shifted in his seat, cleared his throat, then said, Blake, no, but that house was always meant for me. Judge, that's not how property law works. Blake, you don't get it. My dad said I'd have a place to live. He promised, Judge. And fortunately, verbal promises are not legal claims to real estate. Then Blake stood up. Blake, you know what? This is all rigged. Carter's a liar. He manipulated everyone. I was supposed to have that house. People turned, whispered. Someone in the back gasped. I just leaned back and crossed my arms. Mark whispered, Mark, do not react. He's digging his own grave. The judge pounded the gavel. Judge, Mr. Winslow, sit down or be held in contempt. But Blake didn't sit. He pointed at me and screamed, Blake, you stole everything from me. Dad always said I was the successful one. You just played nice and waited to take IT all. I blinked. Success. The man hadn't held a job in years. Judge, Mr. Winslow, Blake, nitrogen monoxide. He's a narcissist. I deserve that house. Then came the moment no one expected. Blake, Dad promised it to me. That's why he gave me Carter's social security number. We were gonna refinance it behind his back. The room froze. My stomach dropped. The judge slowly turned his head toward my father. "Judge, Mr. Winslow Sr., is that true?" My dad's face went blank. For a second, then he said coldly, "Dad, I have no idea what he's talking about. Liar." But it didn't matter, because the damage was done. The fallout court was adjourned early that day. The judge announced he'd be calling for an investigation into potential identity theft. Suddenly, this wasn't just a civil dispute anymore. It might be criminal. Blake was escorted out by bailiffs after refusing to calm down. Dad followed him, pretending like he wasn't shaking. Mark turned to me as soon as the door closed. "Mark, if they really tried to refinance the house behind your back, it's over for them. And you may have a case for criminal fraud." I just nodded. I couldn't even process it. They tried to forge my identity. To take my house, and Blake blurted it out in open court. I didn't know whether to be horrified or grateful for the meltdown. The aftermath at home that night. I sat on the porch with the lights off, watching my security cams. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was still coming. Mark said we should prepare for criminal charges, said we should request a forensic audit of Blake and Dad's communications. I agreed, but what kept me up that night wasn't the legal case. It was, what if I hadn't installed that camera? What if I hadn't caught them trying to change my locks? What if I hadn't fought back? I realized in that moment I had never truly been safe in my own family. The unexpected visit 3 nights later. I got another notification. Motion detected. Front porch. My heart spiked. I checked the live feed. It was my father. Alone. No Blake. No lawyer. No locksmith. Just standing on my porch, arms crossed. I debated ignoring it, but then I opened the mic. "Me, why are you here?" He looked directly into the camera. "Dad, you've ruined everything. No apology, no regret, just blame. Me, you tried to steal from me. Dad, we gave you everything. You were supposed to share it. Me, you didn't give me this house. You gave Blake everything. You gave me threats. Dad, this family is falling apart because of you." I was done. Me, no, it fell apart because you let Blake destroy everything. And now you're mad I didn't let him destroy me too. He didn't say anything after that. Just stood there in silence for another full minute before turning around and walking off into the night. The next day Mark called. "Mark, we got the forensic report back. Me and Mark, Blake, and your father accessed multiple online refinancing calculators using your name, birthday, and zip code. Neat, so it's real. Mark, it's very real. And we're filing a criminal complaint." That was the moment it became official. This wasn't just a family feud anymore. This was criminal fraud, and I was about to take them down legally, publicly, and permanently. Asterisk. You want to believe that justice will do its job, but nothing prepares you for the moment your own family becomes a criminal case number. After the courtroom explosion and Blake's accidental confession, my lawyer filed a criminal complaint for attempted identity theft, fraud, and illegal access to financial records. I thought I'd feel relief. Instead, I felt like someone had ripped open a hole in my chest and shoved betrayal inside. This wasn't just about a house anymore. It was war. The police investigation begins. A detective contacted me 2 days later. I gave them everything: emails, texts, security footage, the recording from the court hearing. They even pulled browser history from the IP address Blake had used. My brother had typed in my social security number on 3 different mortgage calculators. 3. He wasn't just desperate, he was methodical. Then came the big reveal. "Detective, we traced an online refinance inquiry filed under your name." Me, wait, they actually submitted something. "Detective, they didn't get far. Your bank flagged the name mismatch immediately, but it was submitted." My stomach dropped. They'd gone beyond threats. They had tried to steal my home using my identity. And Blake admitted it in court. Unrecorded. Criminal charges filed 2 weeks later. Formal charges were filed. Blake, attempted identity theft, wire fraud, conspiracy to commit mortgage fraud, me, father hating and abetting conspiracy, accessory to identity theft. News hit our local feed like a bomb. A father-son duo charged for trying to steal a home from their own family member. Suddenly, people who used to smile at them in church were pretending not to know them in the grocery store. The rage texts began the day after the charges went public. I started getting messages, not from Dad or Blake, they'd gone radio silent, but from family, cousins, aunts, even one of Dad's golf buddies. "How could you press charges against your own father? You're tearing this family apart. It's just a house. Was it worth all this?" I wanted to scream. No, it's not just a house. It's my life, my name, my credit, my sanity. They tried to rob me while smiling to my face, but now I was the villain. That's when I realized toxic families don't care about truth. They care about appearances, and I'd shattered the facade. The arrest Blake was arrested first. He was pulled over during a traffic stop and taken in without incident. Dad, he turned himself in. But the look in his mugshot, it said it all. Not fear, not regret, just rage. As if I had done this to him. He was released on bail, but Blake wasn't as lucky. The judge deemed him a flight risk and denied his. The news ran with it. Father and son charged in shocking family fraud case. I watched the segment once. Then turned it off. The last attempt at manipulation 3 days later. I got a letter in the mail. Not any mail, not a text, a handwritten letter from my dad. It reeked of guilt-tripping charm. Son, I know things got out of hand. I just wanted what's best for your brother. You've always been independent, but he's struggled. I hoped you'd understand. We're still family. Let's fix this before it's too late. Too late was already way too late. They had tried to steal my identity, my house, and my future, and I was supposed to forgive. No apology. No responsibility. Just blame disguised as nostalgia. I tossed the letter in the shredder. Then came the bombshell. Mark called with an update. Mark, hey, you might want to sit down. Me, what now, Mark? We've been digging through financial records. Your father took out a personal loan 3 months ago. Me, so, Mark, he used you as a co-signer. I stopped breathing. Me, that's not possible. I never signed anything. Mark, he forged it. Vision blurred. My hands clenched. Me, how much, Mark? 30,000. My own father had taken out a $30,000 loan using a fake version of my signature. He stacked crimes like he was collecting Pokemon cards. And now, he was about to face a whole new level of legal hell. My next move, we filed a second set of criminal charges, this time forgery and bank fraud. It was now an avalanche of legal warfare. And for the first time since this started, they were on the defensive. Their smugness gone, their arrogance drowned in bail conditions and court summons. And me, I was still standing, still in my home, still holding every receipt. Because the truth? I never wanted this, but I wasn't going to lose. To people who thought love meant ownership. And family meant submission, I wasn't that person anymore. Asterisk. 3 months after the charges were filed, I thought the storm had passed. I had survived lawsuits, locksmith break-ins, courtroom meltdowns, and even identity theft by blood relatives. I was still in my home, still employed, still sane barely. But then, it happened, and nothing could have prepared me. The house fire. It was a Sunday morning. I was out on a hike clearing my head, trying to feel normal again. Then I got a notification from my security system. Smoke detected, kitchen sensor. I froze. That had to be a glitch, right? Then a second alert hit. Motion detected, back entrance. I opened the live feed. Smoke everywhere. And then, I saw him, Blake. Hood up, gloves on. Running out my back door, holding what looked like a red plastic gas can. The aftermath. By the time I got there, the fire department had already arrived. The flames had ripped through the kitchen and living room, blackening the walls, destroying furniture, melting photos. I stood in the street barefoot, shaking, while firefighters hauled hoses through my doorway like it was a war zone. A neighbor approached me. Neighbor, I saw someone run from your yard just before the fire trucks came. Looked like your brother. I nodded, throat dry. Me, yeah, I know. The police returned that same night. The police arrested Blake. They found the gas can behind my father's shed, still wet, still reeking of accelerant. Surveillance caught everything: him entering the house through the back, dousing the kitchen, and lighting a match. Arson, felony, bail denied again. But the twist, he wasn't acting alone, because when police traced his phone, they found texts, dozens of them. From my dad. You have to fix this. If he wins again, we're finished. Do what you have to. You know what must be done. My father didn't just enable Blake. He ordered the hit. The final arrest was days later. My father was arrested again, this time charged with conspiracy to commit arson. When the news broke, it hit harder than I expected. I sat in the shell of my burned-out home, still smelling smoke, as the news anchor said my father's name on live TV. Local businessman George Winslow was taken into custody for allegedly conspiring with his son to set fire to a home in a shocking family feud. My father, the man who used to tuck me in at night, the man who paid for my soccer camp, the man who once cried when I broke my arm. Now in handcuffs for burning my life down. Rebuilding and letting go. Insurance covered part of the damage. Not all. Emotional wreckage that came with no payout, but I started repairs anyway. Gutted the place, rewired it, painted the walls myself again, just like the first time. Except this time, I built it stronger. Safer. Mine. Without the ghosts. And during one late night, alone in the living room, surrounded by fresh drywall and silence, I realized something. I wasn't grieving them anymore. I was grieving the illusion of what I thought Family meant the sentencing trial moved quickly. The evidence was overwhelming. Blake took a plea deal 5 years, no parole. Dad fought it. Still insisted he was misunderstood. Still tried to blame me. But the jury didn't buy it. He was convicted on all counts. 10 years, with a mandatory 5 before eligibility for release. And just like that, the nightmare ended. The last message a week after sentencing, I received one final letter from prison. It was from my father. I didn't want to read it, but I did. I hope you're happy now. You turned your back on your family, but I raised you better than this. One day, you'll regret choosing a house over blood. I folded the letter in half, then in quarters. Then dropped it into the fireplace and lit a match. The flames roared to life. It felt right. Where I am now, it's been 6 months. The house is fully rebuilt. Bright, clean, quiet. No secret schemes. No guilt-tripping visits. No locks being changed behind my back. Just peace. I started dating again. Opened my own design firm. Built something from the ground up again. People ask if I ever miss my family. Here's the truth. I miss the version of them that existed in my head. The version that never really existed. The real ones. They left me no choice. They chose greed, control, revenge. I chose me. And for the first time in my life, that was enough. And now, I ask you, what would you have done? If your own family tried to steal everything you built, if they gaslight you, sued you, impersonated you, even burned down your house, would you still try to forgive them? Or would you walk away? For good? Let me know in the comments. I want to hear what you would have done. Because honestly, I'm still not sure if I went too far, or not far enough. Asterisk. That's the end of today's story. Did things turn out the way you thought? Or were there some surprises along the way? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think. If you enjoyed this journey, don't forget to hit the like button. And if you haven't joined the community yet, now's the perfect time. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you're always the first to catch new stories. Thanks for watching. And I'll see you in the next adventure. Asterisk.